morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of Voice of Radio. So today we got a bunch of new cards we need to be talking about. And we got some legendary Pokemon. We've got a Gengar. We're talking about Raging Surf here. But of course, for us, it doesn't really matter whether we're talking about Raging Surf or whether we're talking about that double set Ancient Roar and Future Flash. Because at the moment, Japan's doing that thing they don't do very often, where we've kind of ended up having both of them being looked at the same time. Whoopsie. And that means that, yeah, it's all coming in Paradox Rift. For us, it's all going to be Paradox Rift, so it doesn't really matter. But I don't know, that there's a part of me that just really wants to make an effort to make sure you know exactly where it's coming out in Japan, because I, for one, collect Japanese cards. And I like collecting Japanese cards. So yeah, these are coming out in Raging Surf. So what do we got? We've got some legendary Pokemon. Let's start off with Palkia. Now, Palkia is a fairly chunky basic, 130 HP. I should say translations here are from myself, though I have checked with a lovely Antoine Boulet to make sure I've not done her silly. And what we've got here is 2 colorless energy, 30 damage. You may switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. It's a hit and run that deals 30 damage. The thing is, it's kind of a single energy if you use double turbo energy, but if you use double turbo energy, then the amount of damage you do is reduced by 20, so you're only actually doing 10, and hit and run for 10, even if hitting for weakness is roundly terrible. Sure, you can combine this with Baxcalibur, and then put the 2 energy on in that regard, and then do 30 in your hitting and running, but then what wall makes sense in Baxcalibur decks? And you've got to wait until your stage 2's up and you're only doing 30 damage, so not such a fan of this attack. But the second attack, 80 damage, if you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent, this attack does 80 more damage, 160 for free energy if you're behind on prizes. And I think this makes a very good tech in a few decks, one of which, of course, is obviously Baxcalibur. This works very nicely in a Baxcalibur deck because it's hitting for more damage than other stuff. Like, you can use Baxcalibur as a single prize attacker, obviously you can, but it only does 130, and also at that stage you're kind of hoping your opponent doesn't KO your stage 2 support Pokemon, which is obviously something you'd rather not be crossing your fingers and hoping for. Like, that doesn't sound ideal to me. So, yeah. And you got to be behind on prizes, and if you're not behind on prizes, it's not going to work well enough, blah, blah, blah. My point very simply is that as a single prize attacker, it works very nicely. Also works decently in Lost Box decks. I've seen some people suggest this. It's not a terrible idea. I'm not saying it's the best idea ever, but I am saying that you are going to be able to use Mirage Gate to accelerate the energy, and a lot, not all, but a lot of Lost Box decks are already using Greninja with water energy anyway, and 160 is more than a lot of your attackers in Lost Box are going to be doing, your single prizes at least. And you know what? This actually adds up pretty quickly and pretty nicely. This is a decent attacker. Stunning? No. But does it fit nicely into a couple of different decks as a nice utility single prize attacker? Yes, it does. I'm giving it between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies. That would be barbaric. But there are more legendary Pokemon to talk about. We can have a look at Zekrom. And I'm a Gen 5 fanboy, so I love me some Zekrom. We got, again, 130 HP. And we've got single energy, 20 damage. Before dealing damage, discard all Pokemon tools from your opponent's active Pokemon. Yeah. Not sure about this one. 20 damage is quite low. And look, sometimes getting rid of tools is going to be very nice, but a lot of the time, getting rid of that tool is not going to be just enough value. I mean, the good news is, single energy basic Pokemon, you can use this turn 1 going second, but no. We then got free energy, 130. This attack does 40 damage to one of your benched Pokemon. It's alright. It's fine. as a single prize attacker. And, you know, for lightning decks at the moment, we got Electric Generator to do some extra energy attachment, which is nice. And we've got Flaffy, which will get the energy on. So we've got really good energy acceleration in lightning at the moment. So getting free energy on this is not going to be the most difficult thing in the world. And do bear in mind, it's a basic Pokemon. We've got Electric Generator. You can potentially do 130, turn 1, going second here, which is actually really, really nice. But then if I'm doing that, I'd rather just have Thunderous, because I'm doing 140, I'm doing it for 1 less energy, and I stop damage to my bench Pokemon. And I know Thunderous takes 90 damage back when you attack, whereas Zekrom is 40 to 1 of your bench. I understand this, I acknowledge this, I don't care. More damage for less energy with a really good ability as well. I just think Thunderous is a way better attacker. And I like playing lightning decks. I like speed lightning decks at the moment. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not taking Thunderous out of my list to put Zekrom in. I'm not doing it. So, yeah, sorry about that. I'm still giving this free Wassies. It's still got a bit of potential, but I don't think it's good in the way that it maybe could have been. And then one more legendary Pokemon, because I did promise you free. We've got Zacian. We've got single energy. We've got 120 HP on a basic Pokemon, which is fine. Single energy, 30 damage, attach a basic metal from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. This I actually like. This I like quite a lot. We've seen attacks like this a lot in the history of the Pokemon TCG, and the fact of the matter is, this can work very, very nicely. It's like one of the cards which I really desperately want to be good, and I'm partly biased because I did the reveal, I understand. Copperajah. I love Copperajah EX. But it's a stage 1 and it takes a bunch of energy, and what you really want with Copperajah is a bit of time to set up. So set up behind your Zacian. Get some energy on the board, get a bit of damage on the board, and then come in with Copperajah and start wrecking face. I'm not sure it's going to work like it has in the past, because we've seen this exact kind of attack work a lot in the past. Gen 6 era, we saw this a lot. Maybe the format's moved on too much. But, I don't know. I really do like the idea of just using this to set up something like a Copperajah. But then we've got a second attack as well. Free energy, 130, this Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. And I know it's basically the same as Zekrom's attack, but the big problem I have with this one is, I don't know where the energy's coming from. Like, if Metal had good energy acceleration, Copperajah, I am convinced, would be a top deck. But it's not, because it doesn't. So, whereas with Zekrom, I'm like, look at the energy acceleration, we're good. And Palkia, I'm like, look at the energy acceleration, we're good. Zacian, I'm like, nah, mate, not buying it. I give it 3 Wassies based on the first attack, which I think could be kind of useful. I don't think the rest of it is good. I'm sorry. I'm not that sorry. I'll be honest with you, I'm not that sorry. And then we can finish off talking about Gengar. And Gengar's an awkward one, right? Because it's a stage 2. In a format which still is not particularly nice to stage 2 Pokemon. And what that means is we've got to find a reason. We've got to find something which really justifies having this. Do we have anything that will justify playing this? Well, what we've got is 130 HP on a stage 2, bearing in mind that's basically what we had on the legendaries. Zacian was 10 less, but still, on a stage 2, not a basic. It does have a really nice ability, though. Once during your turn, you may switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. And some of you are going to immediately look at this and go, hang on a second. That's Solgaleo GX. That is the original Solgaleo EX. It's Ultra Road. And it's actually a really good ability, because it doesn't have to involve Gengar. We've seen a million abilities over the years where you can jump into the active, or you can jump out of the active. What this allows you to do, and it does make a very, very big difference, is it allows you to swap your active with one of your bench, and neither of them has to be Gengar. This isn't the reason Solgaleo GX saw play. Fun little side note, I did once go to a league challenge, and the top 4 was 3 people playing Grand Ball. Yes, I was one of them. And Solgaleo. Guess who won that tournament? It was Solgaleo. I unfortunately drew the Solgaleo in top 4. I had already played them in Swiss. I didn't play that game. No, that's a lie. I played 3 turns. As soon as they evolved into Solgaleo, I scooped. It was an unwinnable game. Grand Bull cannot beat Solgaleo. It just couldn't do it. Which was sad, because that was one of my favourite decks I've ever played. I've played way too much Grand Bull. And, yeah, it was fun. But yeah, Solgaleo just absolutely wrecked top 4 in that tournament. It wasn't even close. Was it a League Cup? Might have been a League Cup, actually, because we had a top cut. Might have been a League Cup, you know. Either way, Solgaleo wrecked face. So yeah, it's a really nice ability. And it's on a stage 2. So you need to make that decision as to whether you think it's going to give you enough here. Whether you think you're going to get enough value out of it to warrant evolving up into a stage 2. Of course, it is worth pointing out that if you're playing Gengar, you can play other Gengar cards. You don't just have to play this one. You can essentially go all the way up. Don't forget that we've got that really nice Gengar at the moment with Netherworld Gate that lets you put it from your discard pile onto your bench with 3 damage counters on, and then for a single energy puts 2 damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon for each of your opponent's bench, which is quite nice. And in the format at the moment, we've still got the Gengar from Chilling Reign, where if it's knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, search your deck for any 2 cards and put them into your hand. So that could actually be kind of useful. And of course, we've got other Haunter. I'm going to be honest with you, none of the other Haunter are particularly good right now. I'm sorry. But we've got other Ghastly, but none of them are particularly good right now. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I am sorry. Although, shout out to the Ghastly from Unbroken Bonds that when it was knocked out, you got 2 Haunter onto your bench. That was good. It's been years since that rotated out. But yeah. So look, it's an interesting ability, and it can combine with other Gengar. Oh, and actually, the best Gengar at the moment is probably the one from 151, which is coming out soon. For 1 energy, 50 for each trainer card you find in your opponent's hand. That's actually pretty gosh darn good. So you can start combining these up. And actually, there is a really good Haunter in that set as well, because when you evolve, you get to put a supporter card from your opponent's discard pile into their hand. Although, obviously, you're only really doing that to boost up the damage you do with Poltergeist. You don't just want to give them a supporter. But either way, there are things with which you can combine this. It is a really good ability. For that, it's worth playing. Don't play it for the attack. The attack is 2 energy, 100 plus sleep on a stage 2. No, we're not playing it for the attack. The attack is garbage. But playing it for the ability and combining it with some of the other Gengar that we've got around at the moment, I've seen worse, ladies and gentlemen. I'm giving this thing 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies. That would be barbaric. Might seem a little bit high, but I really like this ability. So there we go. Bunch of new cards from Raging Surf in Japan, Paradox Rift over here, and now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about this. Tell me which of these cards you think could see play. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and card games and Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. And get shoutouts on the channel, like the lovely SWTV, who's been a supporter of ours for a little while now and seems to be a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.